Hello! I wanted to make this a long time ago, but hello, we're here now, so that's all that really matters. Some people watching this might be starting university in the fall, and I have somehow achieved the prestigious title of good student. I've also experienced the lowest of the low of being a student, so hopefully, with my wide range of, let's say, academic experiences, I can provide some information that can be helpful for someone either starting university or just to maintain some sort of stability in that sort of sense. This video will mostly be focused on the general undergraduate university experience, and then I'll also make a video with more specific music major tips and that sort of thing. The tips that I'm going to share aren't going to be like the one way to do this, like the correct way to get through university. But I hope that some of the things that have helped me hopefully can help some other people either improve their academic experience or help just maintain some sort of stability. So hopefully this is helpful. So I actually have a few tips about before the semester even starts. The first one being make sure that you as a person are okay. College isn't just about showing off how smart you are and trying to succeed based off of that. It's it's really about a like mixture of factors of hopefully being able to like retain information, show responsibility, all that sort of thing. So if you're not in a place physically, mentally, socially to be able to show what you're capable of in all sorts of senses, then maybe that specific moment isn't the perfect time to start school or to continue school. That's something I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. I spent a lot of time trying to just push through school when there was other stuff in my life that I really had to deal with, and that doesn't produce good results. So, in addition, try to minimize the financial distractions of being in school. At least in the US, college is very expensive, and any stress that's added by like trying to manage all of that is just going to make it harder for you to succeed during the semester. Another thing to do before the semester starts is to find your motivation for studying in the first place. In a perfect world, you would know what your major is, if you wanted to have a minor or a concentration, but of course, that's not always easy to figure out right away. I was quite lucky to know I wanted to major in music and have a career in music, so that wasn't a barrier for me. Now I'm shifted around a little bit of how I wanted to concentrate in my music studies, and that's okay. If you at some point in studying need to adjust slightly or even a lot, that's totally fine. Maybe you'll want to add a minor or a concentration, or just completely switch majors altogether. And of course, that might adjust the timeline in which you graduate, but otherwise, the most important thing is that you're finding use out of what you're studying. Lots of universities offer multiple ways to fulfill the same requirement. So if you're able to find a way to fulfill a certain requirement with a class that interests you rather than just like choosing any class that would work, then that's likely going to serve you better when you're actually taking the class. Let's say you need to take a science course. Maybe you would be more interested to take a physics of sound course than like a just normal biology course, and then that interest is likely to help you like succeed in the class. Also see if you can space out the courses that you need to take that you really don't want to. You don't want to wait until like the your last two semesters to take a bunch of classes that you absolutely hate because then that's just going to make getting to the finish line that much more difficult. On the flip side, you don't want to take all of those courses right at the start because then your first few semesters are going to be really challenging and really unmotivating. So space them out when you can. Some universities require you to speak to an advisor specific for your major every semester or every year, but regardless, try to speak to an advisor just to make sure you are on track or that you just know your requirements to complete your degree when you can. Another thing that I find really helpful is to have your schedule in the calendar. A lot of universities do have their own digital calendar system specifically for classes, which is of course helpful. I would also really recommend having a calendar that's with you at all times, whether it's a physical calendar, a digital calendar on a phone or something, just something that you can write all of your classes down and visually see them, so you're never like, oh, do I have a class today? I don't remember. This goes even further if you're doing other things like extracurriculars or working or just stuff that follows a schedule in your life. Especially if you're coming from high school, you'd be surprised of how much a specific day can really vary. Like not even just like, oh, I'm going to be taking classes from this time to this time. Just like who knows what's happening. So really being able to keep track of that is really important, I think. I didn't use a calendar for the longest time, but then I decided to try it out at one point, and I don't know how I survived without using one before, honestly. You also want to make sure you have all of your materials that you need for the class. Usually that's in a syllabus, and it can include like a textbook, maybe a digital component to the class, stuff to write with, stuff to write on, but you really want to make sure you have that. Usually it's a lot harder to follow along in class if you don't already have those materials at the beginning. Okay, so if it looks a little different, I had to pause recording for a few hours because all of the noises in the world just decided to start happening at the same time. So that's why. Okay, so now for things to do during the semester, one of the big things is to communicate. Right from the beginning, you want to make sure you're communicating with your professors from all of your classes. You should let them know what you're concerned about for the specific class, what might be difficult for you, but then also let them know what you're interested in learning. Letting your professors know the areas you might struggle in the class can help in the event that you actually are struggling with that, and then they already have that knowledge of like, oh, this student's going to struggle with this, so I'm going to try to be a support to them. Being upfront about where you might struggle academically could also just prevent issues later in the semester. Maybe if you let them know about like a certain kind of assignment that you might struggle with, then they can give you some tips that you already just have in your toolkit now before those assignments even come up. This also extends to knowing when the office hours are, if you feel like you want to attend them, doing that. And then also if you have a teaching assistant or a TA in the class, then connecting with them. Outside of the people running the class, try to also connect with other students in the class. Having somebody that you can just chat about with the class can be just a nice motivation to even just attend class because, oh, I know this person and I want to see them today. And then, of course, being able to form study groups or just you're probably going to talk about the class that you shared together at some point anyway, so having the more opportunity to talk about the class is going to help you probably retain the information. I think also a really big thing is just to not lose hope. I think most people who have been in school for any larger chunk of time have experienced either for the entire class or even for a specific assignment feeling like hope was lost and like maybe not being able to finish or get a good grade on an assignment, and it can feel really bad. If the most beneficial thing is for you to repeat a class or to get a 0 on an assignment, that's okay. Just really try not to let things snowball of this one really big thing feels like it is making everything else impossible, and then everything else does become impossible. So really try to have hope in yourself, see what assistance you can get, and move on from there. Another thing to do during the semester is building routines. It's really helpful to know where and when you are most productive. So, like, if there's a specific place that you're able to get most of your work done, like either library, if you're in a dorm, if you're at home, or something anywhere that you feel most productive, then plan to be in that place so you can get the most work done as efficiently as possible. In addition, if there are specific times that work best for you, then see if you can schedule your days around having that time free to work on things. I sometimes find I'm most productive in the morning, so I do various tasks in the mornings to make sure that I can get as much done in the day before it's like 11 and then something is due at 11:59, then I'm panicking because I can't focus and I'm just worried about getting the assignment done. So try to avoid that sort of thing, unless you do work best in the evening, of course. Also, find strategies that work for you to boost and maintain your productivity. Something that I found is helpful to me is having an alarm go off every hour, and that alarm actually telling me, oh, it's time to take a short break. And then I stand up, walk around, maybe do a tiny unacademic task for a few minutes. Then I come back, work, and try to get as much done while I'm sitting back down and working until I hear the next alarm. It might seem a little backwards to do the break first, but for some reason that just helps me be productive because then I want to get through as much as possible before I hear the next alarm. You don't have to do that, of course, but find something that works for you. Last but most, make time for meals and breaks and just general well-being sorts of things. That may not seem like a big thing, but you are going to be less productive if you're just constantly working and not taking any breaks, not nourishing yourself. So please, 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 I know university can be a stressful time. It feels like there's like mountains of things to do, but it's going to be so much easier to handle that if you're actually taking care of yourself, like I said at the beginning. To finish off, I have a few things to consider doing at the end of a semester just to continue maintaining your academic performance. I'm really big about reflecting in general, so I think taking some time to reflect on the semester and think about what things that I tried did work, what things that I tried didn't work, and then that can help you give yourself information of what things to continue doing in the following semesters or to not do in the following semesters. In a similar vein, figure out what classes and activities held your interest during the semester. Like, were the classes related to your major? Were those as interesting as you were expecting? Were they more interesting? Were they less interesting? And then also, even just general education classes, were those interesting more so than you expected? Were they not interesting at all? That can help you decide which specific classes to take in the future. Or in the case of like maybe at Gen Ed was extremely interesting unexpectedly, maybe that can be the motivation. As we were talking about earlier, like maybe that could be a minor that you add or a concentration, or it could be an additional or just flat out new major. Even separate from adding something to your degree specifically, finding interest in a class that wasn't expected can just be a nice thing to have and to like work towards just for yourself. I know I've been interested in the Spanish language my whole life. When I took a Spanish class in university, then I realized, oh, I'm really interested in this. Even though I'm not likely to use that in my career, I still think that having the motivation to learn that is just fulfilling for myself in general. You also want to reflect on what things during the semester helped you make progress toward your bigger life goals. Was there content in a class or in an opportunity or activity that seemed like it can help you get closer to your long-term goals? If so, then keep track of that and see how much more you can learn about that even separate from school. All right, so that's all that I have for university in general. It's taking me a long time to record this because many takes and like I said earlier, lots of different noises midway through recording. This is what has personally helped me, so hopefully it can be helpful to you, and if not, that's totally fine. It's just, once again, what has helped me. You can morph this list however you want to help yourself, adjust things, take away things, add things, whatever works for you. Once again, I'll have a music school specific video as well, and talk about how I have found to maintain that the best I can. To finish off, I just also want to make sure that I mention that stepping away from academics isn't a failure. Sometimes you just need time away from school to be able to be at a place to succeed in school. Sometimes people learn that the hard way. Some people just decide to take a gap year, and then that ends up being really helpful for them. So do what you need to do. There will always be universities to be attended, and regardless of your choice, you've got this. More interested in taking a physics of music. What is going on? I just want to record this video.